Hey everybody, it's John. Welcome to my studio. I am working on my latest piece. Show it to you here. Yet to be titled, but it's my latest mixed media and resin piece. And what I'm doing tonight is I'm applying the final coat of varnish. I've already developed the composition, and just to go over my process again, what I do is I create the background either with a solid color like a solid acrylic, in this case cadmium yellow. Sometimes as all these pieces are on wood, sometimes what I'll do is I'll do more of a stain. So I'll actually mix the paint with water and apply it to the wood to create more of a stain, which gives it a little bit more of a 3D effect. But I still do like the punch of color that you get with just a solid piece. I've been fortunate to show my work recently with the Red Umbrellas group across San Francisco, and to discuss the work with a lot of different people, both locals, people from around the world, and it's been really interesting and gratifying to see how people react to the work. Some people really appreciate this kind of the pop of the solid color, but some people really like the nuance of the wood grain that comes through. In any case, so that's the background. The next step is I've done illustrations for 15 to 20 years. Some of them traditional illustrations by hand, some of them using the computer, but I've created quite a vocabulary of illustrations, particularly of flowers and flower patterns. So what I've done here is I'm printing archival sheets of these patterns, and then I'm cutting them into these various shapes and creating new flower arrangements. So the point being is, while this looks like a scene or a kind of a surreal scene of flowers and different plants, each hand-cut illustration is in and of itself an illustration of another type of flower. So for example, while these are shaped as leaves, these are actually tulips. Here in this circular shape, these are actually illustrations of red roses. We have illustrations of mustard plant that you would normally see, say, in Napa Valley, but I've changed the palette, and I'm using it almost to create the effect of a dandelion as well. So again, you have these different elements. Here's an example here where this is a foxtail, but it's not a foxtail. It's an illustration of another type of flower. And what I like about it is it kind of creates this garden within a garden, and it creates this duality. And you can read as much metaphor into that duality as you want to. It can be anything from, hey, isn't it just a nice picture to look at? But you can look a little bit deeper and see that there's a lot going on here. It can almost be a reflection of the fact that things are not always what they seem, or many of us have two aspects to our personality or to our life, and it can be kind of a visual manifestation of that. So once the paper is applied and I've arranged it the way I want to, I go through the process that I'm going through now. What that is I'm applying several layers of varnish, and it does a couple different things. One, it kind of seals in the composition, but it also provides a great element of protection that's down before I do the final pour of resin, which is the final step of the process. So I have to make sure that I have all the things that artists need to have. The top of the list, at least for me as an artist, is a huge cup of coffee. This is kind of like at the top of my list of materials. So I will, thank you. Load up on the coffee. The other thing I have is some nice Liquitex varnish, my varnish of choice. I've got my handy brush, and I'm ready to go. And again, this is, I won't give away all my secrets. I won't tell you how many layers of varnish I do, but this is the final layer. And I really enjoy this part of the process. Some people might think, gee, how boring can it be just to apply varnish to a composition that's already been effectively, locked in and dialed in. And I honestly, love it. I find it pretty meditative. I think I've commented on that in the past when I've done these. Usually, I'll have music running in the background. Although when it comes to these Facebook Live things that I've been doing, I learned I wouldn't say the hard way, but I learned that if you have music in the background, and if Facebook picks up on it, guess what? They won't put your video up because they think you're trying to rip off New Order or The Cure or the Smiths. Anyway, this is, by the way, it's a little secret for anyone that knows Josh Coffey. Josh Coffey likes to tell people that he doesn't like the Smiths and doesn't like Morrissey, but secretly I think he really does admire the Smiths. And he actually confided in me at one point that the Smiths were his favorite band. So that's not true, of course, by the way, but I thought Josh would like to hear that if he's listening in. So yeah, I get the music on, kind of go through this, and really it's just, it gives me a chance to, zone out, but I'm still being creative. I feel like I'm being productive because I'm getting a piece closer to completion. And from a purely technical standpoint, this puts me in a position where I can be confident that the final coat of resin will go on successfully, which is its own process in itself. That's been a really fun part too of showing my work outside across San Francisco is, without exception, the first thing people usually react to is the resin coating, is just the shine on the finished piece, and then it gives me an opportunity to discuss the process in more detail. And what's been also very gratifying too is, again, probably without exception, is how quickly people kind of get what I'm trying to accomplish with the artwork. I'm not trying to devise some deep political commentary. I'm not trying to solve the world's problems per se. I'm simply trying to create joyful work that makes people happy. And it's really gratifying to be standing there, whether it be in Union Square or Washington Park or Golden Gate Park out in front of the DeYoung Museum, and to have people of all ages, all ethnicities, all cultures, walk up, see the work, and start smiling and just enjoying it. Because that's really, to me, what this work is all about. It's about color, and it's about joy, and in some ways, it's about simplicity, and just things can be simple and can still be beautiful. They don't have to be complex. And one could argue that there's the illusion of simplicity because as I've described tonight, there's quite a lot from a process and a creative standpoint that goes into making this. I mean, literally every one of these pieces is the culmination, literally, of years of work and experimentation and creativity, and it's. I feel very, very fortunate to be able to do it. It's something that gives me a lot of pleasure, and as I said, it makes me happy that other people enjoy it as well. So, and contrary to what most people know about me, I don't talk all the time, so even when I'm doing this Facebook live streaming, I might have a quiet moment or two where I'm not talking about something. And this goes pretty quickly, and that's one of the benefits of doing multiple coats of the varnish, is you're not going to necessarily catch everything in one layer. So if you do multiple passes, that on balance you're going to be creating a nice isolation between the cut paper, the composition, and the final layer of resin. By the way, so the resin part, which I just love explaining to people, and usually the way I describe it when I'm out showing my work, or if I happen to be showing it in a gallery on an inside space, is I pour the resin, and it has the consistency when you pour it almost of a maple syrup, and I spread it out. Let me see if I can find this. So here's a palette knife, and I use that to kind of spread it out. And then here's the infamous or famous creme brulee torch that I use to rid the resin of its bubbles and kind of finish things off. Very good. So this is done. Let's see, I'll take a quick peek at the computer. Looks like some folks have checked in and have been checking it out. It's great to see people watching the show, I guess. So, all right. So you're not going to see any visual change in the piece. This is just an added protective coating. But I am wrapping things up and I'm making sure that it's as good as it can be. All right. Looks like we're set. Thank you very much. I appreciate those of you that follow and support what I do. It means a lot to me. I honestly did not plan to have this sitting on my table, but here's my Do What You Love desk art piece. And seems like an appropriate way to wrap things up. Thank you very much. If you're watching this live and if you're watching it on replay, thank you. You can see all this work on my website, johnkraft.com. Good night.